The Nigerian business environment has become increasingly frustrating for medium and small-scale players owing to negative inflationary trends. Besides a rapidly depreciating currency, cost of operations and logistics has almost gone through the roof. And put side by side with a dearth of a functional transport infrastructure. Doing business at home at the moment faces a lot of uncertainty going forward, but not at all hope is lost, at least for the more pragmatic Nigerian businessmen. We're now being joined to dwell a bit on this by Joy Odunlami, Chief Executive Officer at AJ Skylar Holdings. Great to have you. Hope I pronounced that right.
Yes, you did.
All right, very good. Now, your company is into acquisition, franchising of retail stores, business consulting, among others. How would you describe the business environment in Nigeria vis-a-vis others?
Well, over the last few months, there's definitely been a downturn in the trends because of the economical issues that we're having with Forex. And it's really taking a toll back on businesses. Also with this jackpot season that's happening at the moment.
Say that again.
We're having a wave of skilled workers that are leaving the shores of Nigeria for greener pastures in the UK, in the US, in Canada. And it really is affecting business because you've got skilled men and women that you are dependent on to kind of bring your business forward that are now turning in their resignations and jumping ship. So it is very, very discouraging at the moment. And it's not been easy, especially for small business owners. So I dread to think what the average man, and I'm talking low income earners, carpenters and tradesmen, I dread to think how they're coping during this season.
All right, you say you dread to think of how they're coping this season, but talk to us. How has been 2022 in terms of business focus and looking at it closely? Is it harder to do business in Nigeria in 2022 as against probably 5-10 years before now?
I'm happy that you asked me that because I actually relocated from the UK back to Nigeria 10 years ago. And I only started doing business about 6 years ago. And when I started doing business, it was relatively easy. I think at that time, dollar was about 360 to a naira, 360 to a dollar. However, now we're looking at dollar at like 880 or 890. And one of my businesses was heavily reliant on importing goods from abroad. We can't do that anymore because of the different tariffs in terms of the shipping costs, constantly changing the Forex. It's one price today, it's another price tomorrow. It has a heavy effect on business. Whereas I had a lot of capital to kind of play with in the beginning and bring in quality items for my clients. Now I'm having to weigh up the pros and cons, what is needed versus what we need to actually keep our business floating and alive. So it is extremely difficult. 2022 has not been easy. It is definitely year of the resilient. It's for those that are not faint-hearted and believe that they can scale through in the economy. I don't know what 2023 is going to be like. If 2022 is like this, I'm actually very, very worried for the projections next year.
Very good. Now, if we want to take a look at it from a global perspective, the war in Ukraine and, of course, the threat of recession is looming, not only in Nigeria, but even in the advanced societies as well, America, the UK. So how does one navigate businesses when you have uncertainties like that, and how to plan ahead, as you just mentioned, regarding, the next thing forward?
Yeah. I think it's important as a business person to always go back to the drawing board and kind of have a SWOT analysis, having a look at your business, having a look at the ways forward. What didn't work in 2022? How can we change projections in 23 and going forward? What was scalable then may not be scalable now. So in terms of what my consumers was used to back then is maybe changing what we're bringing in, how we're bringing it in. One of the things that we've been able to do in my business is start to look within Nigeria. So instead of looking outside of the country and bringing things in, how about we make use of the resources that we have on ground, the artisans that we have on ground, and kind of utilize that and bring that forward in the market. It's very difficult right now. There's inflation across board in all economies, UK, US, and everybody's focused on other things, elections and things like that. And you seem to forget that small, medium businesses are the weight of most of these economies.
Yeah,
they're the ones that are driving the business forward, driving the economical growth. So as a business person, it's important for you to always have a plan 5 years ahead, 3 years ahead, and kind of just go back to the drawing board and work on your blueprint. Yesterday's business cannot be today's business, unfortunately. So you have to definitely be ahead of the game.
All right, being ahead of the game. Now let's look at it closely. For you, because you mentioned the whole jackpot syndrome that is becoming prevalent across the board. But for those that are going out, especially business people, is it easier to do business probably in the US, the UK, Canada? Because these are the places with the most inflow of migrants,
right,
as against doing business here in Nigeria.
So I just opened my UK business. We're open and we're situated in central London, and we've been open for about 3 months. It was easier for me to open a business in Nigeria. It was easy for me to, in Nigeria it took me 90 days to open my first business. In the UK it took me 8 months, and that's because it's a lot more rigorous. There's a lot more background checks. Funding is not so easy in terms of getting people that can believe in your dreams, especially being of a black-owned business. Nigeria has full potential for people to come and do business in, but we have an unstable market. Our economy isn't favorable. We have issues in terms of infrastructure, electricity, so many things that is working against you on a daily basis. As a business owner, you're your own security, you're your own light provider. You take your employees on as family members. They're no longer like employees. Whereas in the UK, where I'm currently operating as well, everything's on paper. So with my UK staff, they're working 9 to 5. It's not as easy, especially if you're not a citizen of the country, for you to flourish in that market. You will be capped, you will be put in a system that is rigorous, and it's a 9 to 5 system, and the opportunity to be an entrepreneur, that flair isn't there. So I think if we're able to build more trust in our economy, it can encourage more people to want to come here and invest in the country.
And talking about the flair itself, how do you know what appeals to the public over there in the UK in terms of what you're going to sell to them and the returns you're going to get? Because the uncertainties is equally there. So how do you know what works for them, works for you in terms of what you're going to sell to them?
As a business person, it's very important for you to be very smart in how you go about doing things. I didn't just go to the UK and set up. I actually went to the UK for 3 months and I did my market research to understand what the gap was in the market. We have a large black community in the UK that don't have access to good salons that provide braiding services. Most of the salons that are in the UK are providing other services, and the aesthetics and the demeanor of the people that are there are not on a professional level. I wanted to bring something into the market that people can identify with and normalize, and that is what I did for 3 months. I went to different salons, I did my research, I spoke to people that own salons, I spoke to clients that had the experience of these salons that they've gone to, and I was able to put together a roadmap of what I want my business to look like in the UK. And thankfully, it has been overwhelming in terms of the demand that we've received. It's very different from the Nigerian market, because in the Nigerian market, you have a surplus of manpower. Whereas in the UK, you don't have that. So it's constantly trying to find the right people that can identify with your brand and your vision and equally want to drive the message of Nigeria to the world forward with you.
Okay.
All right. There always talks about Nigeria being the most populous black nation. And that's a lot of human capital.
Yeah.
Is it overstated and is it overrated when it comes to doing business? Or do you think it's a plus doing business in Nigeria because there will always be the demand because of the sheer number of people that are available?
So I grew a level of high appreciation for my team when I opened my UK salon. I realized that human capital is something that Nigeria has in excess. And if you want to do a business here, you would definitely benefit from that. However, I think how you treat people in this economy also matters. So I think we do take advantage of the fact that it is relatively cheap labor, and you can get people in the numbers to kind of drive your vision forward. But we don't exactly reward them as much as we do abroad. So it's important that if you are trying to do business in Nigeria, the same ethos, the same attributes that you give to an international worker, I think is very important for you to bring that over here and treat them equally, because the manpower is here and it's easy for you to do your business and drive it forward 100%.
I mean, we're talking about for the side of demand.
Yeah.
And of course, from your side, supply.
Yeah.
Is it overstated, or do you probably make more profits abroad because probably you put a premium on what you're selling as against the number of or the volume of people you have here?
So I make more profit abroad right about now. At the beginning of the year, that wasn't so. I was making more profit here, but I make more profit abroad because of exchange rates. Once again, I mean, what I was making at the beginning of the year, if I change that now, it's virtually nothing. Do you know what I mean? So what people are earning right about now is, you can't even phantom it in your mind. It doesn't make sense. You can't even call the numbers out, because I don't want people to be looking like, okay, what exactly are they earning? But compared to what you're paying in dollars and in pounds to the workforce or human capital over there is significantly different. So they're putting in twice the amount of work here and getting paid less, and putting in half the amount of work over there and getting paid more. So I would say definitely from my aspect, it is definitely, in terms of demand and supply, it is favorable for me to run my operations here, to be more profitable here than it is in the UK.
I was going to add the issue of skilled human capital. The word skill has to be there. So still talking about the beauty industry, how would you say, do you think there's enough competition here? Because when you take a look at it closely, there's more prospect for individual entrepreneurship in Nigeria when observed closely. And how would you describe the market itself?
The market right now is quite volatile, and there's no really clear pathway of where it's going. We don't have regulatory bodies that support certain industries, so you're kind of left on your own to kind of navigate and figure things out, which is very different in the UK. You have bodies that are accredited, that support you and kind of help you drive your vision forward. And here there's a lot of things that are working against you, things like intellectual property. The laws around that, it's very, very shady. So you can set up a business, which has happened to us, and you can get somebody that comes along and replicates the business exactly the same model, almost the same name and logo, and put it out there, and there's nothing you can really kind of do about it.
What about the issues of patents here?
I'm yet to see its full effect.
Because that's part of the issues here. There's so much competition, rivalry regarding that, and like you said, people copying others, and you set up a business, and before you know it, since a lot of people are also homing in on that.
So I'm yet to see it. I've been in operations for about 7 years, and I've seen my business replicated several times, and I've gone down the legal route of trying to sort it out. But the truth of the matter is, anything legal in this country has a lengthy time wait to it. So you can be in court 5 years, you can be in court 10 years, just trying to rectify something that's just so simple. And so we really need to put in place stricter measures that favor small business owners to ensure that the visions that we're bringing into the economy belong to us, and that people can enjoy it without the fear of what I have now in Ikoyi can be replicated in Ikeja, and nobody will be penalized for it.
All right, okay, just before we go, talk to us about competition. You've touched on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But is there the fear that cottage industries and cottage businesses might probably knock off the big time players? Or do you think that those that are still playing in the little league will always remain in the little league?
Absolutely. I think that fear is definitely on ground. I think there is the potential for people to come in, look at your business model, see what you're doing, and redefine it and offer it to the consumer at a lesser rate or a more favorable rate, or do something that's just a tweak of a difference that would make your business significantly irrelevant to the consumer and make them favorable. So I feel like the average worker is getting robbed daily because there's people that are coming in. If you take it from the point of supermarkets, you know, if you look at the people that are selling fruits and vegetables by the roadside and whatnot, next minute you've got a massive supermarket that opens next to them, and it's almost as if their business, it becomes invaluable. Nobody wants to go to them. Everybody's just driving traffic towards the supermarket. So it is a fear that is on ground. And I think there should be better policies in place, better regulations in place to favour people.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
On that note, Joy Odunlami, CEO, AG Skyline Holdings, thank you for talking with us.
Thank you very much for
business.
having me. Thank you.
It's good to have you with us.
Thank you.